Greetings, members, one and all of the Salivation Nation. You'll never guess what is a better investment than gold. Let's explore. The key word here is being investment. In fact, you probably can guess. In fact, you could probably pick a half a dozen things that are better investments than gold, probably even more. And in fact, we know one right off the top of our head, and that is Bitcoin has been a much better investment than gold. But I don't think that we should be viewing gold as an investment anyway. So this comparison may be a little bit cliche or something that is probably inappropriate to make this kind of comparison until you hear about what this object is, or these objects are, that one may make this tie as being something that's better than an investment than gold. And you could probably get there here and there, but nonetheless we know there's things such as NFTs that are out there these days. There's alternative investments everywhere in the world of art and collectibles, especially digital things. Of course, we know non-fungible tokens, otherwise known as NFTs, as I mentioned, are something that is quite exciting for people out there, although they're backed by really nothing. Essentially, they are digital representations of pretty much anything, including drawings, music, or information, tweets, or whatever, what have you. It's the ownership of that information which is considered non-transferable. You own the rights to that particular digital transaction. Although that seems a little bit ethereal, and it is built on the Ethereum blockchain, so go figure in that regard. There's something else that I think is quite interesting about how gold is viewed and compared with some of these other situations that have arisen, and that's about what is underneath of this material here. That is something that is a better investment than gold, especially with what we've seen over the past year. Unusual ways of investment from this article from phys.org that I'm referencing here, such as collectible toys, can generate high returns. In fact, we know Beanie Babies, and there was a Beanie Baby craze. The Pokemon card craze is kind of making a comeback, and we've seen it even talked about some within this community. And there's a lot of things like that, especially during the pandemic, where people were kind of locked in. You saw a lot more interest, a lot of people buying things like that from their childhood and what have you, and it's starting to raise the price of some of these objects as they become highly desirable. For example, secondary market prices of retired Lego sets grew by 11% annually, which is faster than gold, stocks, and bonds, according to what economists say at HSE University. Their paper was published in the Research in International Business and Finance Journal. So according to a survey by Barclays, rich people invest about 10% of their wealth in jewelry, art, antiques, collectible wines, and cars, in addition to traditional investments in financial securities. Demand for such goods is particularly high, as is the growth in their prices in developing countries such as China, Russia, and Middle Eastern countries. These alternative investments are well studied, unlike more unusual goods whose purchase might seem less serious. Lego sets, Barbie dolls, superhero minifigures, or model cars and trains. Victoria Dobrinskaya, one of the study's authors and associate professors at the Facility of Economic Studies, says the following, that we are used to thinking that people buy such items as jewelry, antiques, or artworks as an investment. However, there are other options, such as collectible toys. Tens of thousands of deals are made on the secondary Lego market. Amazing to think about. And by the way, these representations here are actually what are known as mega blocks, a much larger block here that's really is somewhat more durable for younger kids. And but that's kind of the representation here. And who knows? They may have their own market that is pretty high these days. Who knows? Pretty wild to think about, but nonetheless, even taking into account the small prices of most sets, this is a huge market that is not well known by traditional investors. So there you have it. This is a fascinating thing. Legos is beating out gold as an investment. There may be several reasons for the rapid growth in the price of these Lego sets. First, they are produced in limited quantities. Hello, here's a 2020 Libertad that only has an 1100 mintage. This is a collectible. Certainly, this is going for much higher than the price of gold. So there is that to take into account and consider. And so when you see that these limited quantities, particularly special collections dedicated to iconic films, books, or historic events, perhaps the Star Wars Lego sets that have been retired are probably fetching a fairly high premium these days. Second, after sets are retired, the number of them available on the secondary market is not large. Many owners don't see value in them, or lose or toss parts, while others, on the contrary, value them and don't want to sell them. Third, Lego sets have been produced for several decades and have a lot of adult fans. Indeed, the Lego world, it certainly is. There was a documentary on Lego, and it really is. There is a dedicated fan base for them, and a lot of them are grown adults. Third, Lego sets have been produced for several decades and have these adult fans, so it'd be reasonable to assume that the more time has passed since the set was manufactured, the more it would be valued as a classic sample or a nostalgic object. Well, we see that with the collectible coins as well, too, especially those coins that circulated and whose designs have changed, such as Standing Liberty quarters, Barber half dollars, and the like. And, however, there had been no academic studies to substantiate this assumption, whereas in the coin world, there has been, such as the St. Gaudens double eagle gold coin and all kinds of different gold coins that have been produced, the pre-33 gold coins here in the United States. The authors of the paper looked at the prices of 2,322 Lego sets from 1987 to 2015. The data set included information on primary sales and online auction transactions. Only sales of newly unopened sets were selected. Secondary market prices usually start to grow 2 or 3 years after the set is retired, but there's a significant variation in returns ranging from under 50% to over 600% annually. Prices of small and very big sets grow faster than prices of medium-sized ones, probably because small sets often contain unique parts or figures, while big ones are produced in small quantities and are more attractive to adults. Prices of thematic sets dedicated to famous buildings, popular movies, or seasonal holidays tend to experience the highest growth on the secondary market. The most expensive ones being the Millennium Falcon Cafe on the corner, Taj Mahal, Death Star 2, and Imperial Star Destroyer. Another attractive category includes sets that were issued in limited editions or distributed in promotional events. Rarity increases their value from the collector's perspective. Pretty amazing. Average returns on Lego sets are 10 to 11% annually, and even higher if the new set was purchased on the primary market with a discount, which is more than stocks, bonds, gold, and many collectible items such as stamps or wines yield. However, they lump in all of gold in there. They lump in gold essentially the metal itself, which is something that when you take into account the metal itself, yeah, you can make that case. But collectible coins, old gold, pre-33 gold, or rare foreign gold is not considered when they're talking about this. And so if they're just looking at gold in and of itself, Well, folks, we know that gold is not meant to be viewed as an investment. It's bullion, and it's going to go along with the price of the markets, essentially as a commodity, and of course as a hedge too. And when you look at something as a hedge or a safe haven, it's just that. It's an insurance policy. It is a savings account. It's something to protect us in case of the worst case scenario or a very bad scenario. It doesn't even have to be worst case in order to see the prices skyrocket like we saw in August of 2020. If this article was written in August of 2020 as opposed to December of 2021, my guess is they would have a much different tune to say about gold. And that just goes to show you that, yes, this year, gold certainly has been a horrible investment. In fact, it's not been a good hedge. In fact, it's not been a very good wealth-preserving device when you take into account that it reached its all-time high last summer. I'm talking about summer of 2020. It's very interesting indeed to see. And Lego prices are weakly dependent on the stock market. They were growing even during the financial crisis of 2008 and are relatively low in comparison to art, antiques, and cars, which makes them a reliable and accessible method of investment. However, the authors of the study say that investment in Lego is worthwhile only in the long term. Wow! That's something that we've talked about for gold and silver, by the way. They're saying over 3 years and incurs higher transaction cost. In other words, delivery and storage and investment in financial securities. Well, we know there's some storage costs and there's some things and premiums you have to take into account with gold as well. But nonetheless, it is what it is, and it's fascinating to see how there are some similarities in that regard. Investors in Lego generate high returns from reselling unpacked sets, particularly rare ones. You don't even get to play with it. How's that? I tell you what. In other words, those that were rare and produced in limited editions or a long time ago, such sets produced 20, 30 years ago make Lego fans nostalgic. And prices for them go through the roof. But despite the high profitability of Lego sets in the secondary market in general, not all sets are equally successful. And one must be a real Lego fan to sort out the market nuances and see the investment potential in that particular set. And that is, yes, definitely the truth. Whereas with gold, well, you can admire your gold pieces, whether it be a bullion coin, such as you see here from the Canadian government, or a limited issue Libertad gold coin, which has a high collector value. This is something you can look at and enjoy. If you have a protective capsule on it, you are preserving it. And so therefore, you're preserving the collectibility, and you can still enjoy it. You can feel the weight of it. You can hold it and touch it. Legos are fun to play with as kids, and you can stack them. But you know what? There's something else about Legos, and the fun factor for that is you can also get silver versions of these, essentially, and stack them like that. And have fun with your silver. So there you go. All different kinds of ways to accumulate and collect and to have fun here. But gold is quite an amazing metal, and I don't think it really should be compared, in my view, to anything else in terms of strategy, in terms of its value. But and it's an interesting story nonetheless to talk about here. But there you have it. The one thing, the surprising thing, Legos beats out gold as an investment. Although I don't think that's going to dissuade any of us from buying it, from holding it, and from stacking it and enjoying it. Gold is a metal that will continue to last. And these Legos, well, you want to make another comparison, is gold can be melted down. It can be liquefied with aqua regia. But one thing you cannot do to gold, and that is to destroy it. Whereas if you melt down these plastic building blocks, now these are mega blocks and not actual Legos, but if you break down Legos and melt them down, It's just plastic, not worth anything. So there you have it. Interesting comparison. And there you have it. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.